I respect the opinion, but perhaps this will lead us straight into the East Regional. Maybe it's Kansas State. Maybe Kansas State's more fun because Markquis Noel put on a show inside Madison Square Garden on Thursday night. The New York native finished with 20 points and an NCAA tournament record 19 assists in KSU's 98-93 overtime victory at the Garden. He threw a legendary alley-oop to Keontae Johnson in the final minute of OT. That broke a 92-92 tie. Got a layup at the buzzer that gave the Wildcats a 5-point win. What did you make of Markquis Noel's record-setting performance in his hometown and Jerome Tang's program now being just one win away from its first Final Four appearance since 1964, this coming after, everybody knows, KSU was picked dead last by everybody in the preseason Big 12 poll.
All my short kings out there, stand up. Let's go. Markquis Noel was so fantastic in this game. I immediately regret saying UConn was the most fun team to watch because, oh my gosh, this Kansas State team, so much fun. Markquis Noel put on a show inside the Garden, coming back to New York City. Noel had 20 points, 19 assists, including 10 assists in the first half. GP, trivia time.
Okay.
There's only been one player in the NBA this season to have at least 10 assists in a half inside Madison Square Garden. Who was it?
10 assists and a half inside Madison Square Garden. I'm going to be loyal. Say Ja Morant.
Oh, I knew you were going to do that. Incorrect.
Oh,
James Harden, February 5th, had 10 assists in the first half versus the Knicks, finished with 12. Markquis Noel finished with 19 assists, set an NCAA tournament record. He was fantastic. From start to finish, I mean, he had a injury scare in the second half. He came back, immediately had a crazy acrobatic shot, falling down, fade away from three-point line to make it. It was just his night, and it was so cool to see after the games. He's talking about just being humble, like crediting his teammates. I mean, just very cliche, but you could tell like this meant a lot to him coming back to New York City to play in Madison Square Garden, which is like the venue of all venues. And to not only do that, to lead his team to an overtime win, but to play the way that he did, I thought was so awesome. This Kansas State team, I think it will give UConn a pretty good run as the most fun team to watch in the NCAA tournament.
Don't make me mess around and vote Markquis Noel National Player of the Year, because I'm not above that either.
Shoot.
I'll get caught up in the moment. Really, like, he's been awesome all season. Yeah. And I know Jalen Wilson won Big 12 Player of the Year, and I'm not going to argue with that. He was the best player on the outright conference champion and also had like tremendous numbers. But Markquis Noel has been awesome all season. And that 1-2 punch with him and Keontae Johnson, like, it's crazy to think about how effective that became, because in the preseason, it was like Kansas State has a whole new team. They lost Nigel Pack. Yep. Who was like, was Nigel Pack their best guard? Like, like, did they just really lose their best guard? And then Noel's incredible. Keontae Johnson, after not playing for roughly 2 years, incredible. Both All-American level guys. And this game in the Garden was as fun as it gets. I imagine you're a basketball player from New York City. You always dream of playing in that place. And it probably is tied to playing for the Knicks, right? Yeah. But then at some point, if you don't recognize it, other people certainly pointed out to you that you're not really built like an NBA player, and really not even built like a high major college basketball player. Probably not touching 5'8". And keep in mind, it got a lot of attention coming into the game because both teams, arguably best player, Michigan State and Kansas State, both the best players were New York natives. Neither one of them signed with these schools out of high school. Markquis Noel went to Little Rock. Tyson Walker went to Northeastern. So at that point, it's like whatever dreams you had about Madison Square Garden in the NCAA tournament, they have been downsized considerably because you're at a mid-major, and this is not the type of thing that happens too often for mid-majors. Sometimes, sure, but not too often. Then you end up at Kansas State. Tyson Walker ends up at Michigan State. Now you're at least in the type of places that maybe you can think about these types of things happening. But for Noel specifically, you look up and your whole team's new, and you're picked dead last by everybody. And
look up, is that a short joke? Making short jokes?
I would never. I don't feel like I'm equipped to do that. And to then become the star of a team that gets a top 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, and then based on nothing more than the way the bracket came out, you have a chance to play in your hometown. You get there, and then not only does it live up to expectations, it exceeds them, I would assume. You get a win. You go 20-19 instead of NCAA tournament record. I mean, usually when you dream about perfect situations, the dream doesn't, it might go well for you, but it doesn't usually go perfect like the way you would want it to go. Maybe Mike Trout has been dreaming about being in the box of a big time baseball event with all eyes on him. And he had that opportunity the other night. It didn't go so well. He struck out swinging. Most times your dreams don't go that way. But then Markquis Nowell, 20 points, 19 assists, hit big shot after big shot, throws an alley-oop in the final minute, and oh, by the way, does all this on a bum ankle, which, by the way, we'll see how he feels on Saturday, but he was able to fight through it on Thursday. I did notice the limping, and I'm not saying anything other than it's just something I noticed. The limping was mostly on defense. On offense, he looked pretty healthy. He looked like every time he got the ball, he was able to get wherever he wanted to go. And then on defense and in dead ball situations, he'd be limping around a little bit. But boy, when he got the ball in his hands, he was moving fine.
I think his first possession when he jumped back into the game, he nearly turned it over. He goes and chases a loose ball. He recovers it. He throws the ball basically at the basket from just outside the 3-point line, and it goes in. And then immediately is hobbled to the point of, you might have to walk me off the court. So yeah, there may be something to that. But he was able to finish the game. He played so well on both ends of the floor, especially on offense. I mean, he was their creator. He was the guy who was creating everything on offense. The alley-oop play to Keontae Johnson was, I think, maybe the best highlight from this game. Standing at basically the top of the key, he's looking over at Jerome Tang, the head coach at Kansas State. And it's almost like he's arguing with Tang, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And Tang's saying nah, I'd rather do that. I listened to Noel in the post game, and he said basically he had looked over at Tang, and then he had caught eyes with Keontae Johnson, and him and Johnson just kind of connected as a wink, wink, you know what to do. So he's kind of looking the other way. Johnson, backdoor cut, goes to the rim, and Noel throws a perfect alley-oop. Johnson slams it back, completely backwards. Such a fantastic highlight. I mean, that was kind of emblematic of the entire game. Just so much fun, so many plays from this Kansas State team, and so many highlight plays from Noel specifically.
And yeah, he immediately coming back into the game after injuring the ankle, he's got the late shot clock, banked in 3. It was just an unbelievable night for him, and boy, he'll have that forever. And this Kansas State team, circling back to fun, we talked after Purdue got eliminated about how, and Steve Lapis pointed this out on the broadcast, I thought he was absolutely right. Once Purdue realized they couldn't get two things, they couldn't get the ball to Zach Edey, and they were on the verge of maybe becoming the second team ever to lose as a 1 seed to a 16, it really tightened up. There were guys with wide open shots. They didn't want to take them. I'm hesitant to use words like scared, but they seemed hesitant to shoot. I'd rather somebody else do this because I don't want to be the guy missing these shots. Kansas State is the exact opposite of that. Everybody's ready to take the shot. They've now done it at least twice in this NCAA tournament, and they did it all throughout the season. Remember when they beat Kansas? They throwing alley-oops at the end of that one too. So they're not afraid to throw lobs in high-stakes situations, and they're not afraid of the moment. And I do think that is on some level a reflection of Jerome Tang. I thought he was terrific post-game again today, just talking about how much he believes in his guys and how much he believes in Markquis Nowell. And that whole scene was really, really special. And now, he's going to get an opportunity to play in his hometown again for a chance to take his school to the Final Four for the first time since the 1960s.